Hey guys, Squatch Reloading here. Today we're going to do a Squatch Chronicles video, but today we're going to cover the top 5. The top 5 what? The top 5 mistakes, in my opinion, that I think new reloaders make and why that is. So stick around and we're going to go through these, no particular order, but we're going to break it down 1 through 5 and let's see where it goes. Okay, number 1, and I think this is something that every reloader has to learn, and that is being focused on what you're doing. First thing, I don't know if many of you guys have looked at these powders that we're using, but all of them say danger, extremely flammable. And that kind of leapfrogs into what I'm talking about, and that is being focused on what you're doing. You're basically dealing with high explosives here. And you're dealing with something that's going to create an ignition inches from your face. So being focused on what you're doing is very important. And part of being focused is eliminating distractions, okay? When you're reloading, you need to dedicate all of your time and energy into that task. If you can't, then it's not the time to reload. Things like smoking cigarettes doesn't make sense around something highly flammable. Drinking alcohol or using drugs, I mean, obviously anything to impair your mental capacity while reloading is not a good move. So being completely focused is something that you really need to get yourself trained to do before you jump into reloading. So if you're one of those guys that can't get focused, maybe you need to try something else. But to be a good reloader, you need to be focused on what you're doing. That way you can dedicate every ounce of your attention, understand the process, and be safe. Okay guys, so number 2 is not understanding fully what the task is at hand that you're doing. Not fully understanding what each step entails and what to look for and what to check for. A good starting point, and I recommend this to everyone, and I'm sure most of you seasoned reloaders will give this same advice, is get your reloading manuals, and in the front of every reloading manual is Reloading 101. Basically a very 100-foot view of the reloading process, what to look for, what's important, and so on. And that's a good first step. The other things that you can pick up are reloading specific reference materials. They sell cheap on Amazon. There's all kinds of different editions out there from various manufacturers. But check out those reference materials. They get into the nitty-gritty and the science and the theories behind reloading. Read those front to back and really grasp that. And that will really help you become a successful reloader. The next thing that you want to look at is manufacturing info, like your press instructions. When you buy a new press or you buy dies, read those instructions, front to back, or read the entire piece of paper there so you understand all the nitty-gritty of whether it's your dies, your priming tool, your press. Understand how your equipment functions and what to look for. Now the last thing, and this is something new that a lot of, like my mentor, my grandfather, he didn't have this luxury, and that is videos, YouTube, the Reloaders Network. There is a ton of good information on there, but to get the full benefit of what I'm telling you or other reloaders who are doing content about reloading on videos is to understand, the nomenclature and the things that we are talking about, putting it into practice. It kind of pulls everything together. So the most important thing, obviously, again, is your reloading manuals, understanding the process, the steps, the finer details that you're going to find in reloading specific reference material, and these videos. We just kind of pull everything together, and that's how you're going to comprehend the process and learn the most from it. Okay, number 3 mistake that new reloaders make is trying to mimic factory ammunition. Now, factory ammunition has a ton of unknowns. We know the weights of the bullet and the basic shape, whether it's round nose or hollow point or truncated cone. We can kind of get that. And most manufacturers actually will sell their bullets separate. Things we don't know is we don't know what kind of powder they're using, what kind of primer. I mean, we can assume it's a small pistol primer, but things that we can mimic are velocities, and velocities with a stated weight of projectile. So that's what we can mimic. So trying to figure out pulling factory ammo apart and measuring how much powder's in there is going to get you into a bunch of trouble. When you're reloading, you have got to stick to published load data. And if you want the performance of a particular factory round, you need to measure that factory performance like with a chronograph. And you know, those velocities that you achieve with a factory round in your barrel, that's what you can mimic reloading. But you're not going to find what type of powder. I mean, most companies have a proprietary blend of powder, and it's not available commercially. You might get lucky and find something, or calling a distributor and finding out some information, but you're never going to know exactly what that is. So taking apart factory rounds to try to mimic that round is not a good idea. Stick with published load data that it has a good starting weight and ending weight, and work within those parameters. And if you're really trying to fine tune it, get yourself a chronograph. It's a great investment. If you're into reloading for any amount of time, you will see the need for a chronograph when developing your loads. So trying to mimic factory loads, not a good idea. And it's also a mistake I see made a lot. All right, number 4 is a common mistake that new reloaders make. And usually it's a result of not going and doing the educational side, like I talked about with number 1, is not educating yourself on the reloading process, reading the manuals, reading the reference material, checking manufacturer's information. And that is what I call fishing. And by fishing, I mean those are the guys on the forums and the groups saying, does anyone have a pet load for 9mm? Does anyone have a pet load? Or what's your favorite recipe? And I know I read a lot of guys giving out reloading data, and personally, the only data that I will give out is I've pulled from published load data. And that's the only advice I will give anyone. I work up particular loads for particular guns with different chambers that maybe go above and beyond what's recommended in published load data, but I would never give out that information to someone else because a couple reasons. 1, I don't know their process. 2, I don't know what kind of gun they have. And 3, I don't know what someone's attention to detail is. So it's very risky to be giving out that kind of information. And in today's age, with all the trolls on the internet and the people who are anti-guns and reloading in 2A, there could be just someone out there giving out blatantly bad advice to get someone hurt. And I would hate to think that's something that would go on, but that's the world we live in. And for you new reloaders, work up your own loads. It's going to make you a better reloader, a smarter reloader, and a better shooter. So fishing for pet loads, asking what your favorite load is, I think is bad advice, and I think that's something a new reloader needs to stay away from. Alright guys, so number 5. It's one of these things where it doesn't necessarily apply to new reloaders. It applies to seasoned reloaders as well, and that is assuming you know everything there is to know about reloading. And wow, that is a huge mistake. And I can tell you this, I continually learn reloading every single time I'm at the bench. Every video I watch a ton of your guys' videos too, and there is all kinds of things that maybe you approach something a little bit differently than I do, that I pick up. Different guys have recommended different reading materials, and I continuously learn. And I continuously am passionate about reloading and the science behind it, and I'm just nonstop absorbing and absorbing. And at any point in time when I think I know everything is the day I'm going to sell everything and get out of this, because you've got to be as much a teacher as a learner. And there is all kinds of ways to learn from each other. And I think us selling ourselves short of that, thinking we know everything. So I'm just like the rest of you guys. I'm learning in this process, and things that I learn, I try to pass along to everyone else. So number 5, assuming you know everything about reloading is a huge mistake. Hey guys, so I hope you enjoyed remember, it's not all-inclusive of every mistake that every new reloader can make, or any seasoned reloader can make for that matter. It's just kind of my top 5 list of common mistakes that I've seen occur frequently. So your mileage may vary. But if you guys have any other comments or smart remarks or other mistakes that maybe you've made and maybe how you've overcome those, drop those in the comments below so we can share it. And that's really the whole point. And to kind of segue off, number 5 on my list was don't assume you know everything there is about reloading. And I just want to clear myself, I am not an expert, by no means an expert. And I don't think anyone who proclaims that they are an expert are worth listening to, because what I am is passionate, and I like to learn, and I do a lot of reading and a lot of research, and that's what has helped me be successful. And those are the things that I want to pass on to everyone else. So I'm not here to say my ways is the only way to do it, and that I'm not responding and listening to what other people have to say. If that was the case, then I wouldn't be where I'm at right now, and the success that I've had and the experience that I've had. So just keep that in mind. I don't think anyone can proclaim themselves to be an expert. We're all learners, and we've all got somewhere we need to go, some plateau we're going to reach. And it's just the process to get there. So I will jump off my soapbox on that. But, the reason I think we're seeing a lot of mistakes happening in reloading is obviously there's a shortage of ammunition in this country right now. And the reason that is we've had an influx of new gun ownership in this country over the last several months. A lot of that has to do with this COVID, I'm trying hard here, pandemic, trying not to get political. And then we have, other issues. We have an election cycle coming, and that always triggers a buying frenzy. And I always get happy when I see people going out and exercising their Second Amendment right by purchasing firearms and becoming familiar with firearms. And that has, led us to where we are right now. With the shortage in ammunition comes a shortage in reloading components. So that's kind of the situation we're at right now, and that's what we got to work through. But we need to be diligent in checking our government websites, checking, writing our congressmen and so forth, to make sure that everyone understands that we aren't willing to give up, our rights that our forefathers put in place, and so many men and women have died to protect, and it's for good reason. And that's as political as I'm going to ever get here. But if you guys like what you see, please hit that subscribe button to follow all my content. Don't forget to drop those comments below. I would love to get a discussion going on what common mistakes new reloaders will make, or even seasoned reloaders. Let's see what you guys have to offer there. And check me out on Facebook and Instagram at Squatch Reloading. You can email me directly, squatchreloading@gmail.com. You can find me at the Reloaders Network, and occasionally over Friday nights at 8 o'clock at the Georgia Shooting Connection Friday night live stream. That's a fun place to go hang out. If you guys aren't doing anything on a Friday, hit that up. It's a good time. But until next time, guys, God bless.